Good evening again. We are returning from executive session, which was adjourned around 6:25. We are now in our public session. The first order of business. Before I give the order of business, I want to read the statement again. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, the public will be provided access to the live stream of the meeting via the district's website at www.richland1.org. We do have an agenda set before us tonight, and we call this meeting to order. So the first agenda item is 6.01. Everything okay? Yes. 6.01, which is the invocation presented by Commissioner King.
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. Good evening to everyone. Heavenly Father, we come to you humbly to ask for your grace, forgiveness, and wisdom to guide us in the decisions we make for our 22,000 children, that they may grow up to be curious and thirsty for knowledge, to be healthy, happy, and hopeful for their own future. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner King, for your invocation and your prayer. Thank you for all that you do in your area, in this city, and Richland County and beyond. We're now at item 6.02, which is agenda adoption. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote electronically. It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Also, I'm going to take a moment of privilege to recognize that we have the 7th board member on board tonight, which is Commissioner Robert Lominack. And maybe during board report, you can greet the public and have your first introduction from your seat and your table. But yeah, it is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. All 7 commissioners are in attendance tonight. We are now at item 6.03, which is public participation. Ms. Wilson, we do not have any public comments tonight. Thank you so much. We're now going to the consent agenda, which is item 7.01, minutes, October 26, 2021. 7.02, contract extension, Chronos Software, license and service renewal, and 7.03, contract extension, on-base content management software renewal. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion about any of these consent items? Commissioner King.
Yes, Mr. Bishop, just a technical correction, if we can, with Ms. Wilson. I believe that I'll accept the consent agenda with the understanding that the minutes also need to reflect the vote to come out of executive session, since it is a vote. And since Ms. Wilson is not in the executive session, I think one of us needs to let her know what the vote was when we come out of the executive session.
You're whispering at the end. I couldn't hear you. Could you?
Excuse me?
Yeah, go ahead and say it again.
I said that the minutes need to also reflect the vote to come out of executive session, and since Ms. Wilson is not in there, we just need to let her know what the outcome of the vote is.
All right, well said, duly noted.
Thank you so much.
All right. No other question or discussion? We'll now cast our vote. She's looking for you. Tell Bobby. Bobby? It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Now we're in the Office of Operations. I'm going to read all these in, then we'll take any questions about the contracts. 8.01, contract provide and install new stage drapes. 8.02, contract temporary nurse staffing services. Item 8.03, contract Earth Choice microwavable disposable food containers. Well, no, that's later. We'll take that by itself. So items 8.01, 8.02, 8.03. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Vine. Question or discussion about any one of these items? Seeing none, hearing none?
Chairman Bishop, I've actually got a question about the temporary nurse staffing.
Sure.
So I see the amount and the hourly rate. How many schools do not have nurses now?
All right. Someone's coming to address your question.
Okay.
Good evening, Chairman Bishop, members of the School Board of Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. Currently, we have vacancies at Logan, W.A. Perry. We also have schools that currently don't have nurses that are out on sick leave. So what we're doing is this contract with Maxim is to help us cover those areas that our other company, Consolidated, is not able to handle. They're a contracted company, so if somebody calls out, they can always get us somebody to fill in, and we needed more than just like a couple of days. We needed like periods of weeks at a time, so we needed another company to supplement.
Okay, and then if we lose another nurse kind of permanently, these folks would still be able to step in with this contract, right? This isn't just for the schools that are currently missing nurses. They can fill future absences, even long-term absences, right?
Yes, they can fill
Okay.
long-term absences.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll now cast our vote.
It's freezing. It's freezing.
It's like a little delay. It's a delay, then it pop
It's
up.
freezing.
Okay, everybody voted over here?
I'm sorry, I didn't see the vote. Okay, here it is.
It is a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Item 8.04, facility naming, presented by Dr. Prince. Dr. Williams.
Good evening, Richland 1 Board of School Commissioners, Chairman Bishop, Cabinet members, and Dr. Witherspoon. The administration is recommending the following renaming of facilities. First, Hopkins Elementary School, naming signage in Carr Lane to pay tribute to the late Rosemary Fleming. Next, Columbia High School, naming the main gym after retired coach and teacher Bobby Young. Next, Dreer High School, renaming the main gym from Ken Dubard Gym to Dubard Gym. And finally, Eau Claire High School, naming the Navy Junior ROTC area in the building after the late Colonel Arthur Sass. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Clyburn, I believe. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. It is a 7-0 vote, the ayes have it. Now, we're at item 9, which is Office of Human Resources. 9.01, Personnel HR Update. Dr. Long. There you go.
Mr. Chair, Board of Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon, the HR personnel updates were shared with you all during the executive session as information. I'll answer any questions if you all have any.
Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, thank you so much. 9.02, Administrative Appointment. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends the appointment of Miranda Williams to the position of Assistant Administrator at Harrell Hill Elementary School. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote.
Ms. Wilson? Yes.
It is a 7-0 vote, the ayes have it. 9.03, Resolution to suspend teaching credential. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends that the board approve the resolution asking the State Board of Education to suspend the teaching credential for the teacher with the initials of J.E. for unprofessional conduct, breach of contract. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion?
Chairman Bishop, I have a point I'd like to make. You know, this is someone who broke a contract by not continuing to teach the school year. I do want to point out that this is one of the most one-sided parts of our contracts with teachers, that if they resign during a school year, they will lose their ability to teach the following year. I think that in the middle of a pandemic, when there are a lot of issues going on in our teachers' lives, that to remove a potential teacher in the middle of a teacher shortage for next year is an extreme measure that I think we should not take lightly, and that we should certainly not do as a routine measure. This is discretionary. We do not have to suspend or move to suspend a teacher's license for the following year, and I think it's worth thinking about whether that outweighs the negatives of losing that teacher. There are a lot of teachers that have some pretty profound reasons for not being able to continue teaching last year and this year, and I think we should be thoughtful about that.
Thank you. Any other question or discussion? We'll now cast our vote.
Wait.
It's a 5 yeas, 2 nays. The ayes have it. We're at item 9.04, employee suspension without pay. Dr. Long.
Pursuant to the section 59-25-450 of the South Carolina Code of Laws, the administration recommends that the teacher with the initials AP and employment be suspended without pay for 2 days for unprofessional behavior. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. Seven yeas, 0 nays. The ayes have it. 9.05, employee suspension without pay. Dr. Long.
Pursuant to section 59-25-450 of the Code of Laws, South Carolina Code of Laws, the administration recommends that the teacher with initials JS, his employment be suspended without pay for 2 days for unprofessional behavior. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Myers. Question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. Seven vote, the ayes have it. 9.06, hiring of personnel. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends hiring the teachers on the attached list for the 21-22 year. There are 5 listed, and then 1 for the 22-23 year. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion?
Chairman Bishop,
Okay.
I don't have any problems with the list of teachers, and I'm glad we're able to hire some teachers when we need them most. I do want to point out that at least 2 of these teachers are currently teaching at another school outside of this district, and therefore we will be benefiting from their license not being revoked for the next year or so because they're leaving their school in the middle of the year. Thank you.
All right, we'll now cast our vote.
Yes.
It is a 7-0 vote, the ayes have it. We're now on the office of the board. Is item 10.01, the board report. This is an opportunity for any one of our board members to address something from their desk or speak towards some activity, event that they've been exposed to around the district. So at this time, just take a moment if any board member would like to speak. Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start first by thanking my colleagues, Commissioner Clyburn and Commissioner Myers, that joined me for a walkthrough here at Lower Richland, along with Hopkins Middle and Southeast Middle School. Really want to thank them for the opportunity to go into the classrooms and actually engage in discussions with our students, which was very rewarding, I think, to us just as much as it was to them, to talk to them as we talk about the social and emotional well-being of our students, how they were faring off. And Dr. Witherspoon, I have to say kudos to your staff to hear the students saying that they're glad to be back in the classrooms and being actively engaged in their studies. So wanted to share that. And also, Mr. Chair, as you all know, at the beginning of the school year, we launched a mass campaign, and resources are still coming in, Dr. Witherspoon. We've had another shipment, major shipment, come in of another 20,000 plus masks that was delivered again from a church locally here in Lower Richland, Pastor Chambers. Want to thank him, and also want to thank another young man out of the community, Mr. Hamilton Jacobs, who also donated 10,000 masks to the Southeast and 10,000 to Hopkins Middle to help our children get through the flu season. So wanted to make sure that I thank them, and also thank a former school board member, Ms. Lavola Taylor, who was also a former member of the House of Representatives, who has worked very diligently with us to make sure that these masks continue to come into our schools, Mr. Chair, to make sure that our kids have masks so they can continue to be safe while they are learning. That will conclude my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. It was so great to go to the premiere representation of 12 angry jurors at Dreher High School. We've got some fantastic students in all of our schools, and for $5 a show, it's pretty cheap to get a great performance. So kudos to those Blue Devils. They really, really did a fantastic job. And I'm glad that the community and the parents are back into our schools to support those kids. The second thing is, Dr. Witherspoon, is that I'd like for us to have a discussion over, unless you're going to address some of that in your superintendent's report. But very recently, the Biden administration issued a vaccine or test rule that essentially says that for healthcare workers are going to be mandated to be vaccinated or be tested every week or something like that, and that also extends to employers with over 100 employees, so we fall into that category. Now, I understand that there are legal challenges and it's in court. Some states have filed some opposition to this ruling, so we don't really know exactly where it's going. But should it come into effect, the date is January the 4th, and what I'd like to know, and I think we're all curious about, is your administration ready to have that going should it come into effect? Because it's pretty major in terms of gathering that data, having the processes in place, et cetera.
I'll be speaking to that.
I'll just speak to it in the superintendent's report.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Okay, Commissioner Myers.
I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate Creighton Middle School and Hopkins Middle School on last week's win.
All right, there you go. Yes, Commissioner King.
Mr. Bishop, there is one more thing I want to address because this concerns us school board members. There's been a little bit of a negative or a lot of negative attention brought onto the National School Board Association because of a letter that was sent to the Biden administration that talked very, very negatively about parents and labeling them as terrorists when they come to board meetings. I was really proud that the South Carolina School Board Association decided to sever its ties with the National School Board Association until further review. As a school board member in this district, I'm really proud of our parents and the process that we have for our parents to express themselves. We have seen parents that were frustrated, but at all times, can I say that they have been respectful and channeling their energy to vent their frustration in a proper manner. And as a school board member, I highly respect all of our parents, and we want our parents engaged into their kids' education, and we want to hear feedback from them. I was really proud of our South Carolina School Board Association for taking a tough stand.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just in response to Ms. King's response in regards to SCSBA as incoming president, we did have deliberate discussions regarding SCSBA and NSBA, and we were aware of the letter through the state associations, which are members. The local school boards are not members of NSBA. We are members of SCSBA. We knew that this was going to impact the work that SCSBA does, not the local school boards, and we believe in local control, and we believe in local decision-making, and so therefore, as a board, at the time, without this was not a light decision that was made by the board, but it was a decision made by the board, and so we did decide to immediately leave NSBA for the 21-22 year, and then we'll reconvene or maybe look at that at a later date. And so, but again, I just want to remind everybody that individual school boards are not members of NSBA. We're members of SCSBA, and all the state associations are members of NSBA. So just wanted to share that with everybody too. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in light of Mr. Devine's response, and I do understand, the severance of ties with NSBA. However, as a board member, my concerns are, and I know that no parents are not terrorists. Poor wording in the letter, a lot of poor wording in a lot of things all the time. Folk tell lies every day, but at the end of the day, one of the concerns that I have as a school board member, and don't mind sharing this, I think you all know I'm one of 3 that have made that level at the top of the training. And I must admit that the training that we receive at a national level is superb. We have to keep in mind that we don't just receive local dollars. We receive federal dollars, and those national trainings have us in the Capitol with the decision makers at a federal level. So I would love to hear how SCSBA is planning to continue the level of training in which NSBA has provided for us as school board members, yes, on a local level. However, the decisions we make here local, a lot of times are pivoted from what happens on a federal level. Before the teacher shortage came, and I'll use this as an example, before the teacher shortage came that so many people are ratting over, the nationals told us it was coming 2.5 years before it happened. We were projected to have 800,000 teacher shortage nationwide, and it was because the colleges could not produce them fast enough. We knew that was coming. So when it hit about 3 years ago, where everybody was saying, I don't have enough teachers, I don't have enough teachers, we as local school board members already knew what was going on, even the things that our president at the time was going to do to work towards recruiting more teachers for us here in our local state. So just for conversation, not necessarily have to do it tonight, but as the incoming president of SCSBA, and I'm currently serving as your president of the caucus that works along with you, it's going to be real interesting as to how we continue to educate our folk. I think our connection to NSBA was not about the letter. Yes, that's wrong. I don't agree with that. What I look at is the level of information and training, Mr. Chair, and advocacy that we have had, the influence we've had on even the infrastructure bill. I think, Dr. Witherspoon, you recalled us being in that meeting with the majority whip at the Capitol in great deliberation and discussion, selected as one of 40 from the state of South Carolina, representing us on a national level. So with that being said, I would love for Eva, if she could look at, we're not a part of that directly, but those trainings, especially the equity one that is coming up, which is so important. How do we still connect to get that information? Because it does not come at a state level. And that is what is concerning to me is, we can twiddle-dum over the local stuff, but a lot of the local issues that we face as school districts and school boards, the national comes in and tells you it's already happened over here. Some of the things that's happening right now in South Carolina, this stuff was projected before COVID of what to expect, the political plays, et cetera. We knew a lot of the stuff that we're seeing now was coming because of training that we have received at a national level. So I would love to find out from you all how we plan for the upcoming year to make sure that our school board members understand their role, because a lot of times we don't understand our role. And I just have to be honest. I tell people all the time, you got one employee, okay, and that's it. And one person doesn't make the decisions for the whole board. Those are things that you've got to be trained on, but you've also got to understand that what happens nationally impacts and affects us locally. And I've sit in plenty of sessions along with you, Mr. Devine, where the nationals have broken down the stuff, those numbers, those calculations that we understand even down to the dollar, the money we get for SPED, why it's calculated the way it's calculated, the poverty index, how that affects things. So there is some critical training that you all at the state level have got to bring to ensure that our folk understand how things operate. Because I hear Commissioner Myers say this all the time. Before she got elected, she thought it was XYZ. Now that she's on the board and she's looking at these numbers and this, that, and that, it's making sense that this is why the district did this. This is why the district did the other. So just want to put that out there for food for thought, that we are able to work together, since we're both leading the organizations now, to make sure that we educate all of South Carolina school board members, that they get the training that they need. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. With that being said, yes, you have something?
Yes, I do, Chairman Bishop. I'm wondering if we can, and maybe this is already, maybe you already have a timeline for this, but if not, I'd ask that we put it on, at least put it on the agenda for the next board meeting, but opening these meetings back up to the public in a safe way with the requirement of mask. But that's obviously a question that I'm sure all of us are getting a lot of. I'm going to an in-person induction ceremony at a high school tomorrow. Now that we're in schools in these larger areas, I think it's safe to say we can accommodate the public in these meetings safely.
Yeah, prior to your attendance to the meeting as a board member, we've been in discussion trying to get that situated. We're going to lean towards administration with that. So as we hear from them, maybe some action can be taken towards that, but we're going to let the administration lead that charge.
Great, thanks.
All right. We had item 10.02. Yes, Commissioner Clyburn.
Yes, the question I had, Commissioner Harris alluded to it, so I'm not sure if this would be Mrs. Wilson's purview or Commissioner Devine's purview, but as far as the SBA and how our trainings, our certifications are going to be acquired. Because I would say, I've been looking forward to attending conferences and trainings and, getting my little badge of honor, as I, attend conferences and, getting these certifications. How is that going to be affected? And so, that may be an answer, or will it be affected at all? So if that's a question that could be asked and brought back, I don't know if we already know the answer to that, but that's what I would be concerned with, that because trainings are important to me and learning more and more.
Commissioner Devine is going to respond to that.
Okay.
Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Commissioner Clyburn. Thanks. That's an excellent question. Please know that our separation from NSBA will not have an impact on the state level services and trainings that we provide, because again, that's on the state level that we provide. Ms. Harris is level 6. I just got my level 6. So that's provided through the state training services. So we will continue those training services. And as a matter of fact, I think it would be prudent if the caucus join or provide some type of additional training services in the future. And that's something that we can talk about with our executive director and Ms. Harris and her board at some point to potentially get the caucus to help us with those items as well. But again, please be assured that the training will not lack. It will continue to be first class as we've done in the past.
Great.
And we'll continue to move forward to get all of our school board members across the state trained going forward.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We are, I think we have exhausted item 10.01. No other statements. All right. We're now going to item 10.02. Oh, excuse me. I did tell you at the beginning of the meeting, Commissioner Lomanak, if you want to say an ingredient of meat from your position of being here for the first time, you can do it during the board report. Is there anything you want to say?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not going to keep us any longer, and I suspect people don't want to hear any more from me, but I really am happy to be here and working with you all. I've been a part of District 1 for a very long time as either a teacher and currently a parent of a student at Dreer High School. So I'm excited to be in this role and working with and for District 1, and I appreciate you all welcoming me. Thank you.
All right. 10.02, 2021 Hall of Fame induction class presented by Ms. Karen York.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Witherspoon. The Richland One Hall of Fame recognizes persons throughout the district's history who have made significant contributions to Richland One, their professions, their communities, and society as a whole. 87 men and women have been inducted since the Hall of Fame was established in 2004. The Hall of Fame, of course, is truly a point of pride for Richland One. 22 nominations were submitted for consideration this year. Two board-appointed bodies facilitate the process, which ultimately leads to a recommendation being made to the board for final approval. The nomination selection committee members read and evaluate the nominations according to the established rubric. The Hall of Fame Advisory Board reviews the tabulations and formulates the board recommendation. Mr. Bob Bachman and I serve as members of the Hall of Fame Advisory Board. Mr. Bachman will give you a brief general overview of the persons who are being recommended for induction into the Hall of Fame this year. After that, I'll return to make the formal recommendation. Mr. Bachman.
Thank you, Karen, so much. Chairman Bishop, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, members of the cabinet, and other members of the staff. It's a pleasure for me to be here again in these circumstances to speak with you a little bit and give you a description, a collective one, of those persons that we recommend be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. As Karen has explained, our nominees, we are proposing 5 people to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. 4 of them are graduates of Richland I high schools, 2 from this very high school here at Lower Richland, 1 from C.A. Johnson, and 1 from Dreher High School. When I describe them collectively, I think you will see that they certainly match the kinds of people that the board has inducted into our Hall of Fame in the years in which we have, since the year we have established the Hall of Fame. I will give you just an overview of their professional fields. They are members of professions in education, medicine, religion, journalism, both print and broadcast, human resources management, literature, business and industry, and athletics. All of them have undergraduate degrees, 2 of them have master's degrees, 1 has a medical degree, and 1 with a PhD. So they value their own education, and they have used that in their professions and in the services that they have made to the public, and particularly to our schools and students and families here in Richland I. The colleges in which they have had some association or attended include University of South Carolina State University, Georgia State University, Winthrop University, North Carolina State University, University of South Carolina Medical School, Meharry Medical College, Spelman College, Webster University, and Cornell University. If I were to describe our proposed inductees with one word, it would be mentor, because that's where some of their most and best work has been done in terms of not just showing our students and people in our community, how to be role models, but actually to engage in that themselves. And so, in particular, they have used their own education, they have shared their learning and their talents as mentors in our schools, in our elementary schools, in our high schools, even as far as graduate schools. They have been teachers, administrators, university professors, board members of institutions of higher learning. They have served in the classroom. They have served adult education programs. They have started youth programs. They have engaged in sports camps, all in a mentoring capacity where they have shown by their example and by their service just what sort of inspirations they can be. In particular, I would say that we have, these nominees have been involved in healthcare and public health, and in these days, in the last 20 months, we have seen just how important it is to have people in our healthcare industry. But they've dealt particularly in mental health, with mental health issues. They've served the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. They've been members or consultants to organizations dedicated to mental wellness, those persons who suffer from mental illness or alcohol and drug abuse. They have served veterans and our service members on active duty who suffer from PTSD and brain injuries and have been victims of sexual abuse. They have volunteered with organizations promoting mental health for young people. They've served in the judicial system to address mental issues for medical issues for persons suffering from mental illness and alcohol and drug use. They have also provided their mentoring services and other public services in a variety of different places, at university boards at the highest level. And they've used the media to promote social programs. They've created programs for young people, including summer learning, sports camps, career mentoring programs for high school students, programs to support homeless people, engaged in civil rights campaigns. They've been trailblazers in business, in higher education, in medicine, often the first persons of color to serve in high positions in those areas. They serve senior citizens, veterans, and women's rights groups. They have published in a number of professional journals. They've participated in professional organizations. For example, in the Jack and Rachel Clarkson Foundation, in the Columbia chapter of the Lynx, the Jack and Jill of America, the Girl Scouts of America Board of Directors, the Board of Commissioners of the South Carolina High School League, the Board of Directors of the Palmetto Unified Schools, that is, schools for our persons who are incarcerated. They've been members of the Board of the Society for Diversity, the National Black MBA Association, South Carolina Women in Higher Education, National Association of Urban Bankers, Life-Changing Ministries, and Women's Ministries and Women of Power International Incorporated. That collective view will give you a glimpse of those persons that we propose to be inducted into the Hall of Fame and their achievements, their service, their example matches those of those persons that the board has inducted into the Hall of Fame in the years in which we have had the Hall of Fame. And we respectfully submit that these people are deserving of the honor that this board can convey upon them by becoming members of our Hall of Fame. And I would be delighted to answer any questions which members of the board or Dr. Witherspoon or anyone there might have with respect to our process or collectively these persons that we propose.
All right, Karen.
Mr. Chair, the administration recommends approval of the 5 persons recommended for induction into the Richland I Hall of Fame this year. The administration so recommends.
You heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Devine. Question or discussion? Okay, Commissioner King.
Mr. Chair, I don't know who they are. Who are they? I mean, I have a description, but I don't know their names.
I think we don't name them. We wait to the press conference.
Yes.
We do initials.
You know, the press conference that you was invited to? Did you invite everyone to the
Yes,
press?
after the vote is taken by the board, as in the last time that we had the Hall of Fame induction class recommendation 2 years ago, we skipped last year, of course. It was done the same way. And after we notify those persons selected for induction, or of course in the case of any posthumous inductions, we notify the families. After that takes place, we have the news conference to announce the persons who are in the induction class for that particular year, as we've done in the past.
Yeah, that is the process I'm familiar with.
We've always known who, at least the board members have always had the names of those people. So you're asking me to vote for somebody, yes, we've always had the names of the people. It was not released, but, okay. I've been on the board 9 years, and, okay. So you're asking us to vote and you know, obviously there's a great, those are all great achieving people, obviously. But you're asking us to vote and.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me just provide some quick clarification, because the names are never disclosed. When the board vote, we vote. Our role as the board, we all have appointed an individual to represent us. That person works to tally up the information for us. They're kind of our representative. When that information is done, it goes to Karen and Mr. Bachman to come before the board, because those individuals, as Ms. York has said, have not been notified. They don't notify them until we approve what our selection team that we appointed brings to us through the advisory board. That's been the process. We've never gotten a list of names because, as Ms. York stated about 3 or 4 years ago, which made sense, she has to notify them after the board okays them. Then at that point, it's okay to release that information. But until the board approves what our delegated individuals have voted on for us, the names are kind of kept confidential. That's why Mr. Bachman gives us an overview.
Okay? Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
King.
I don't, of course, I don't, what you say is correct, but it's only partially correct because we have always had, the board had never had an edited version of their nominations, ever. We can pull it up. So you, the issue is that you're asking us to vote on, we don't know these people, and I understand that it could stay anonymous until you do the conference, but I'd like to know who I'm voting for. I have no idea. And in the past, we've always done it that way.
All right, Commissioner Clyburn, and then I think Commissioner Harris.
Yeah, because I actually had a question.
So this is my my observation, because I was not on the board 2 years ago, but I was born into Richland District 1 and, am, I guess, just an observer. I'm not sure what the process was, but it feels like from my time as being on the board, we're voting on the process. I don't think we're voting on approving names.
Yes, we are.
We're voting on the process.
No, we're voting for people. We're not voting
No,
for
we're voting to approve or to move forward what the advisory committee has suggested or recommended. That's a process. So that's all I have to say.
All right, Commissioner Harris.
And just for a point of clarification, first of all, Mr. Bachman, thank you so very much for still being a part of this. I know you've been here from day one, and we look forward to you coming and doing just what you did tonight, giving us an overview of the candidates that have been selected. So let me first start by just thanking you for your continued support to the Hall of Fame. It really does my heart good to see you come and give that well-crafted speech on the candidates and what they have accomplished and how they continue to support Richland One. So let me just first start by thanking you and thanking Karen York. But Mr. Chair, to the point that is being made, and I don't want to have to go back and pull footage, and I think Mr. Bachman probably can allude to this, you've never given us the names. You normally give us an overview.
That's correct.
That's
Ms.
been the
Harris.
process all along. I know it's been a while since we've done this, but the names have not been given to us. That's one of the reasons why each board member appoints a person to review the candidates on our behalf. So when the recommendation comes to us from Ms. York and Mr. Bachman, they're based on what our appointed persons have tallied and brought forth. So let me just, and remember, I was a part of us revamping this. That's why I'm certain of what we've been doing in the past. This is the process. We may have forgotten it, but after Ms. York, once we vote and it's approved, Ms. York contacts the candidates, and then that's when I think something comes out with their picture on it to let us know who it is. The board sees that, I think, before it goes public. But as for the vote part, we vote on the credentials of what has been provided to them. So I just wanted to bring that point of clarification. I know Mr. Bachman has been here from its inception, so you know, and you're normally the person that stands before us. So just to end the debate, this has been the process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Ms. York.
On board docs, you will find at the October 22nd, 2019 meeting, there is the attachment, which is similar to tonight's attachment, which does have the names, the bios of the recommended nominees that year, and the names are redacted.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that record. All right.
Mr. Chair, call for the question.
All right. No other questions? We'll now cast our vote.
Yay.
It's a 7-0 vote. The ayes have it. Again, as my colleague has stated, Mr. Bachman, we appreciate you.
Yes.
We appreciate your commitment to this. And we always love to see you coming. It kind of reminds me of the NFL Hall of Fame when the guy shows up and, you know, you're like, whoa, you're here. And so always good to see you show up to our meetings for this purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is, as you know, it's always a pleasure for me to be of some service to this district and to the board, and I hope that I will be able to continue to do that in some capacity.
Yes, sir. And thank you to Ms. Karen York. Thank you as well. All right, we appreciate you. All right, we are now at item 10.03, revised 2021-22 board meeting schedule. Ms. Harris?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask that we table this item until our next meeting, until we have an opportunity to look at that board meeting schedule, because I believe in 2022 it reverts back to going into schools. So I'm going to ask that we table this item until the administration, Dr. Witherspoon, can bring something to the board that better outlines what we're going to do when it comes to all of that, because I know that we do have streaming issues in some of the buildings. So I'm going to ask that we table that item.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Devine gave a second. Question or discussion? Question or discussion? Yeah, okay. Commissioner King?
Yeah, I'd like to understand, I mean, I don't dispute the willingness to but I want to know why. What are the issues that, since this has been put on the agenda for tonight, right? I mean, nothing's changed since it was put on the agenda. So why is it on the agenda now? And what are we looking for?
I think the reason why I'm asking to table it, Ms. King, is because if you look at the 2022 portion of it, it starts taking us back into elementary schools, et cetera. And if we recall, when COVID first hit, there are buildings that our streaming capabilities don't work well in. So we've got to look at the issues that trying to do that is now going to present for the team, those guys back there that's running this operation. There are buildings that this just doesn't work in, like Hayward. We already learned that from trial and error, how many times we went there for a meeting. And I think that the schools that were selected, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Witherspoon, this stuff remains stationary, because we know that this school in Eau Claire and Dreer, we don't have issues in those particular buildings. So that's why we've kind of been rotating with the 4 because of that, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I'm asking that we review that and at least allow Dr. Witherspoon's team to see if we are going to have any issues trying to pull this off in other places, because that's a monumental task to set up. We get there for a meeting and can't meet because we can't stream. So I think that we need to allow the administration an opportunity to go and see if that is feasible at this time, being that we know already there are buildings that the walls are the brick and the services do not work in there. For instance, Hayward is the perfect example. We've had 3 or 4 meetings that we had to cancel once we all got there as a board because we couldn't stream. So I just think that it's only fair to allow the superintendent and his staff to go back and look at this first.
But so, that's a very valid point, Ms. Harris. I've got a couple questions. How do we not already know that?
I can't hear you, Ms. King.
How do we, my question is, how do we not already know that? I mean, we've been talking about it ever since we knew that there were some schools that were better than others in streaming. Why is that not already known?
Ms. King, I think that is that question for me?
I guess it would be for Dr. Witherspoon, because that would be a testing from staff. I mean, is that information not already gathered?
Dr. Witherspoon?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we would like an opportunity to go back and just recheck those things.
Do we have that answer for the Stevenson administration building? That works pretty well, doesn't it?
Again, we would like an opportunity. We haven't streamed from SAB. Again, what I'm asking the team to do is go back and let's verify those things and be sure.
Okay, so just so for clarification, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Harris, is your motion to postpone until the next meeting? Or postpone until the administration puts it back, or the chairman and the administration?
I don't want to be unfair, but allow them to check on it. We already know that there are schools listed that we're not going to be able to stream in. So I guess we need to allow the superintendent and his IT staff to decide whether we need to stay like how we are, rotating with the schools that we have, or whether or not we need to try to attempt using those buildings, and then, things can be up working fine, then all of a sudden it goes out. I can tell you right now, this is probably the only school in this area that we won't have any issues, and that's because of this being a newer facility. But the average school, you won't be able to do this at a Weber or a Gaston because of the locations. You're not going to pick that signal up all the way in Eastover. So I think that it's only fair to allow them to go back and see if it's next board meeting or whenever. But at the end of the day, we only have one meeting left in this year. So, I mean, we can certainly offer up a motion to have that move to one of the schools that's already stationary, that's already set up by Dr. Witherspoon's staff. So that we don't run into any hiccups, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure we're able to conduct the business of the district and not have to cancel a meeting because we've gone to some place and it's not working. That's why I asked that we table the item.
All right, any other discussion or question? All right, let's let the administration measure twice then before we cut once. Yeah, so there's a vote on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. 7-0 vote.
Mr. Bishop,
Yes.
Also, we need to address the 2 meetings that are in the yellow. I think they're scheduled for SAB, and I move that the December 14th, 2021 meeting be changed to Drury High School. The January 11th, 2022 meeting be changed to Eau Claire High School, because right now it is zoned, I think not zoned, it's for SAB, and that's the reason why we have what we have.
Second.
All right, it's been moved, and I hope that Ms. Wilson got that motion. You would remind Pete it again. You got it? Okay, and second by Commissioner Harris. Question or discussion? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll now cast our vote. This is going to be verbal, or you want to do it electronically? Okay. Cast your vote. Mine is freezing.
Yeah, I'm voting.
Yeah, I'm reset.
I'm a yes.
All right, you want to qualify the vote? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0 vote. We're going to continue with the agenda. I know we're having some technical issues, but I think we're now down at item 11.01, legal status report, presented by Attorney Williams.
Your microphone.
Go back to your original. There we go.
Okay. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon, the purpose of our legal status report this evening was to share information with our new board member and welcome to Richland 1, and that was to share information on the status of legal cases in the district. Otherwise, we would not have had a report this evening, but we will be having, reports as we move along during the school year. That completes my report, unless there are questions.
Any question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're now to item 11.02, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and I too want to thank Mr. Bachman for his long-standing continued work with Richland 1, and specifically with the Hall of Fame process. It is certainly appreciated, and we thank you. This morning, I had my first meeting with the 2021-2022 Student Advisory Group. And as this board has noted, and we continue to see, we have some fantastic students at all of our schools. And the Student Advisory Committee are student representatives from each one of our high schools, grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. I share information with them, but more importantly, they share information with me that we do take back and to our team meetings and back to schools and so forth. So as was stated earlier today, the students are glad to be back in school. I'm very appreciative of that. They were appreciative of the safety measures and things that we do have in place so that they can continue to stay in school and so forth. But to our student representatives, we thank you so very much for your feedback and comments. And we have a two-way street, if you will. Theirs is to bring comments and thoughts from their colleagues and classmates, and as well as to take things back. And we spent a lot of time, as Simon Sinek says, talking about the why. Oftentimes, we know things happen, but the why of things. And I get great insights from them, and they are able to cascade that why. So thank you to this year's Student Advisory Group, and we look forward to more meetings and conversation. Thank you to our students. Congratulations to the Lower Richland, A.C. Flora, and C.A. Johnson High School football teams for their victories Friday night in the first round of the 2021 state playoffs. The teams will continue their quest for the state championship titles this Friday, November 12th. Lower Richland will host Clinton at the stadium at Lower Richland. A.C. Flora will host Greenville at Memorial Stadium. And C.A. Johnson will travel to Southside Christian in Simpsonville. All three games will kick off at 7:30 p.m. We also want to recognize Columbia High and W.J. Keenan for their outstanding seasons for making it to the first round of the state playoffs. Congratulations as well to the A.C. Flora girls tennis team on its outstanding season. The team, which played for a championship Saturday, was runner-up for the 2021 state championship. This week, November 8th through 12th, is National School Psychology Week. The annual observance highlights the important work that our school psychologists do in supporting overall student support services. They provide the testing and that analysis. They work with our other support staff in terms of what we do with mental health, social, emotional development, and helping our students to be successful in life. So to our school psychologists, and we will couple in our entire student support team for this week. We know that our students sometimes face many challenges and uncertainties, and certainly now during COVID. But our psychologists and support staff continue to play a role in assisting our students. So again, we thank and appreciate our school psychologists in this National School Psychology Week. Thursday, November 11th, is Veterans Day. Several of our schools will be holding special Veterans Day programs and activities. Some of our students will be participating in the City of Columbia's Veteran Day Parade. We can't say thank you enough to the men and women who have served our country through the military and helped to protect the freedoms that we all enjoy as Americans. Please join me in saluting all of our veterans and thank them for their service. To our veterans. If we have any veterans with us this evening, if you would please stand as well. Next week, November 15th through 19th, Richland One and other school districts across the country will observe American Education Week. The annual observance provides an opportunity to celebrate public education and to honor individuals who work to ensure that every student receives a quality education. The executive team members and I will be reading, in addition to members of the board, as a part of American Education Week activities. During American Education Week and throughout the year, again, we honor and thank our board members, our district employees, our students, parents, community partners, and all other members of the Richland One team for working together to keep our district, Richland One, strong. The new edition of Spotlight One is posted on Richland One TV on demand and on our website at richlandone.org, on the Richland One TV YouTube channel, and on the district's Facebook page. The show is also airing on Richland One TV on Spectrum Cable Channel 1303. As in previous shows, we answer questions that were submitted by students, parents, and staff about various topics. There was mention about the vaccine mandate, and first of all, I want to say thank you to all of the members of Team Richland One, our staff and all. If we go back to last school year when we partnered with Prisma Health for several vaccine preferred days with Prisma, and thank Prisma for that. We learned at the time, and we surveyed our staff and students, that almost 80% of our students, our teachers, if you will, employees, indicated a willingness to get the vaccine or had already received the vaccine. And we appreciate those efforts. Those things have certainly kept us as an organization more healthy, and allowed us to continue to do work throughout this year. So as we fast forward now to the vaccine mandate, we know again that the majority of our staff has indeed been vaccinated, and some may have already received the booster that is available. So as the information about the vaccine mandate had come out, I also want to note we've also been doing COVID testing in partnership with Prisma Health. And as the mandate spoke of, with either organizations over 100 and so forth, individuals getting that, or testing and so forth. So we've had those mechanisms in place. So as we were leading up, and we had received both some organizational information as well as some legal information as of late, but we were progressing toward that. I know, and board members have asked some questions over the months or even last school year, where we're looking at a mandate and those types of things. And we didn't bring a recommendation to you because we knew those numbers were continuing to go up in terms of voluntary vaccination efforts and the things that we were providing. Of course, as that came into play and certainly making its way into being active after the first of the calendar year, we do have those things in place. We have the partnership with Prisma. We have the vast majority of our staff that has been vaccinated. We've certainly been, I know Attorney Williams has been following this and continues to follow it. So we've had conversation and discussion about this and relative to our preparedness for that pending date. So as an organization, we feel like we're in a good place to be ready for that. We will continue to monitor certainly the legal aspects that are in play at this point, and we will continue to certainly keep the board and our staff informed as to next steps with the legal ramifications and how that will, as that plays out. Next, as a reminder to our students, parents, and staff, Friday, November 12th is an early release day for students. Staff will be engaged in professional learning activities for the remainder of that day. And finally, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the holidays are just around the corner, and since this is our only board meeting for November, I want to note that our Thanksgiving break will be November 22nd through 26th, and regular schedules will resume on Monday, November 29th. And certainly, I want to extend on behalf of the board and all in Richland One, we want to extend our wishes to everyone for a very safe and happy and reflective Thanksgiving. Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, for your superintendent's report. Any questions at this time for the superintendent? Seeing none here. Okay, Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. So, Dr. Witherspoon, thank you for addressing my comments earlier, my questions earlier. So I know we've got some systems in place, but this is a massive HR issue or process, frankly, because it is going to be a condition of employment, which will have ramifications into our classrooms. And so that's really the piece. I know, and you and your administration have been really good about offering vaccination on sites and making it easy for our staff and our teachers to get vaccinated. You've done some really great things, and I know we've got a partnership with Prisma, but this goes way beyond that. This is a massive HR piece. It's a condition of employment, which then can trigger some very tricky and serious and potentially long-term ramifications of employment in the classrooms with not just teachers, but also, I mean, the operations and maintenance of schools. So that's the piece that without being alarmist, of course, because we don't exactly know where this is going, but we got to be ready, and it is coming really fast, and it's pretty massive.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, hearing none. Thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, again for your report. We're now down to the last item on our agenda, which is item 12, the adjournment. One announcement before we adjourn. The next meeting of the Richland One Board of School Commissioners will be held on Tuesday, December 14, 2021, at 7 p.m. At Dreher High School, 3319 Millwood Avenue, Columbia, South Carolina. With no objection, we now stand adjourned. Thank you. Good evening.